Hey everybody, this week I'm talking to you about the artist Nick Cave. He's an artist that I saw all the time. I would go to Minneapolis to an art museum, go to New York, go to a museum with Mrs. Cantrell, and I would see his sculptures at every one of these places. So I just started to kind of think like, who is this guy? And it's not till now that I actually did some research on him because our theme of the week, uncategorized artist, fits him perfectly. And you can tell by this quote. Art, craft, fashion, I don't really care. I do like that there is a broad dialogue in the art community. We can all fit together. I really avoid associations and keep going. I've reached a point where I make what I make. To work in the way I work, I have to be fearless. He doesn't label any of his art. He usually puts what his art is comprised of, but he doesn't categorize himself as one type of artist, so he fits into this week perfectly. A couple different things that he does. He does sculpture, installation, performance art, video and photography art, designed object art, fashion, and not to mention he is the head of the graduate program at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. So yeah, he plays many different roles in this world. So the thing that he's most popular for is something called a sound suit. In his time of being an artist, he's made over 500, he believes, different sound suits. And the best way that I've seen them described is a vehicle of empowerment. So the very first sound suit that he created is this one right here, is this twig one. And the original inspiration came from a lot of racially charged current events that were happening when he first made them and his own racial profiling that he experienced. And he was very upset and didn't know how to not only process this information, but react to these things that were happening. So what he did is he lashed out in an artistic way. These sound suits are his way of lashing out and his way of empowering what normally doesn't have power. His first sound suit made out of the twigs, he was walking in the park and he looked down and he thought about this twig and he thought about, man, that is something that is so discarded. It's so viewed as less than. People step on it all the time. I'm going to make an entire suit out of it. And it kind of gave power to this thing that was discarded. And when he put the suit on, he realized that it made sound when he moved. So that's where sound suits originated. And the whole idea behind sound suits is that they camouflage the shape of the wearer, enveloping and creating a second skin that hides gender, race, and class, thus compelling the audience to watch without judgment. They just are judging the art based off of what you see here, whether it's made out of twigs or buttons or grandma's doilies. The sound suits are comprised of so many different things. So after he made his first sound suit, the twig one that you saw in the last slide, he really started to become fascinated with the idea of things being discarded. So that is when he began to go to flea markets, to antique malls. And what he did is he took those things that were neglected, those things that were discarded, those things that people said, I don't want this anymore. And he was giving these items a new role. Something that's really great about Nick Cave is that he is inspired by one thing. So he finds this item that he loves and he built the entire sound suit off of them. There are two types of sound suits that he primarily does. The first type, the one that he has over 500 of, are the museum and gallery sculptures. They are more of an aesthetic nature. They are meant to be sculptures that stay stationary. People can still wear them, though. He typically wears them for videos and photography. But these are pieces that are kind of meant to be standalone on mannequins. And they have all those different things from the flea markets, from the antique malls. There are some things that have old toys. I mean, I recognize some of these toys from when I was a kid. I recognize some things like grandma's doilies, grandma's clothes, little rugs and things like that. So these are meant to be viewed in a gallery and people are meant to judge them and admire them and love them. Here's some more examples of the sound suits. I highly recommend looking up his sound suits. All you have to type in is Nick Cave sound suits and you'll see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples. I love the little musical instrument that's on this one right here. And I love this multiple, almost like person megaphone. Every single person is covered, or every single mannequin is covered with that sequin fabric, but it's all connected, which I think is a really cool idea. The second type of sound suit that he creates is for performance art. So this is when he takes the art out of the gallery and goes out and performs it. The piece that's pictured here is part of his piece, his whole performance piece called The Herd. And I love what he says is he says it's like building a collage with moving parts, because not only has each of these sound suits been created, but it's as part of an overall performance trying to make some sort of a message happen. You'll notice that one of the biggest difference between the gallery pieces and these performance pieces is these ones don't have as much of that delicate stuff that you find in flea markets and antique malls. Instead, you have things like raffia, like ribbon, like twigs that move around a lot, that add to the performance, because has a very large dance background, so a lot of his things have dance in them. In fact, this piece right here, this was done with high schoolers at a public art school, and he loves giving dancers the chance to say something through his art, and to not have to be based off their skin, their gender, anything. It's based off of the outfit that they're wearing and the moves that they're using to express themselves. Something that's really cool about when he does performance pieces is he usually spends about 2 months in the city, and he creates this thing he calls a lab, where he creates a lot of sound suits for this city. And something I love that he said is, for me, it's trying to see what I can do to leave an impression. By working with the city, people are shown that they matter. I'd like to think of myself as an artist with a civic responsibility. So that's a little bit about Nick Cave. What I'd like you to do next is to watch the video featured right to my right, please.